You can't be successful unless your talented people are successful. In this episode, we're going to talk about how to manage your talented people, what that involves, and why it's important. Hi, I'm Rick Kendall.
And I'm Fred Ball.
Welcome to Management Mastery. The purpose of these podcasts is to share what each of us has learned about good and bad management in our combined over 40 years of experience, both as managers and executive coaches. During that time, we've coached managers at every level in companies from Fortune 100s to brand new startups in all major businesses, including nonprofits, government, and education. So whether you're just starting in your first management position or are an experienced manager looking to strengthen your management skills, we know our podcast will be valuable to you.
One of the greatest challenges a manager faces is whether it's able to strengthen the talent pool efficiently and fast enough to stay ahead of the competition. And when you think about that, that's a challenge that the entire company has, that each of the departments has to manage their talent, and they have to do it well. The manager's job is to manage all of their staff, but a very important part of that, which is sometimes overlooked, is managing the most talented people. Talented is a subjective term, and a good manager may know it when they see it, but it's not always easy to spot. The manager needs to understand the business from all angles and evaluate their people on the appropriate dimensions. The manager needs to evaluate their people based on the most important talents for their department.
You know, Fred, you mentioned that sometimes it's hard to spot talent. Sometimes the talented people, and we've talked about people who are introverted, sometimes the talented people are introverted. And they don't stand on a chair and say, look at me, I'm great. And a good manager looks at every one of their staff carefully and individually and tries to evaluate, how talented they are, what can they really contribute, even if they are stuck off in a back room. I had a client who found such a person literally stuck in a back room and kept down by their manager who was more or less intimidated by them. And this person ended up being sent by the manager, my client who found them, being sent, promoted and then sent to an MBA program for working people, and eventually, years later, ended up being an executive vice president at the company. So the manager has to be on the lookout all the time in all the nooks and crannies of their staff for people that have appropriate talent, and then encourage that and help to grow it.
That's always a great story when someone takes a situation like that and really makes something great out of it.
Yeah. And the reason that talented people are so important is that at the end of the day, they're the biggest drivers of your department's success. They're the ones that make your department look good to senior management, and in turn make you look good. And they inspire other staff to do better. People don't want to be overshadowed by the talented person. So,
and when they're making you look good, you have to remember, if your boss is congratulating you for something that went on, you've got to make sure that you present to your boss the fact that it was talented people in your group who made the good things happen.
Oh, absolutely, and you need to let the talented person know that you've sung their praises. Because they want recognition. We'll talk about that later, but yes.
One of the questions that always comes up is if talented people are not always easy to find, how do we go about doing it? There's a couple of mental exercises that you can go through. You can ask yourself, if the company told me that I had to promote some folks, or I had to let some folks go, how would I do that? You're going to need to know who your top producers are. And another way to do that is to mentally rank all your people. Do a force ranking program so that you do from top to bottom.
Yeah, and there, Fred, there's another reason to identify your talented people, and that is that often they're the most likely to leave your department, either because they feel they're not being recognized or they get poached from outside the department. If they're really good, people will notice, people inside your company and people outside, and they can be easily frustrated if they don't feel that they're being challenged, that they're being given the kind of work that's up their alley, that really provides them with what they want in a job, again, which we will cover in another session.
One of the most frustrating things that can possibly happen to a manager is to have one of their people who they think is actually doing fine come in and basically resign because they've been poached by someone else.
Oh, yes. Tell me about that.
Right, right. That's happened to all of us.
Yeah, certainly has.
So when it comes to managing talented people, what do you need? The first is that you need to have a fundamental belief in the importance of talented people and coaching talented people. And then another thing that you need to keep in mind is that it takes time and effort and patience. I had a coaching situation not long ago where the manager had a highly talented person that they wanted to give an assignment to. They knew that the person, that the assignment would have to be challenging. There would have to be a lot of new learnings in it, and the individual wanted an opportunity to at least have one other person working with them who they would oversee. And I have to tell you, planning that project took a load of time. So if you think that managing your talented people are going to be easy, it's not going to be easy. And even when the manager had the project all figured out, the talented person had any number of questions that they needed to get answers to from their manager before they would accept the position. So it's not a quick and easy thing. You got to put time and effort into it.
Oh yeah, and there's another aspect. It's almost more emotional than time consuming, and that is, if you've got a really talented person on your staff, there's a very good chance that they are much better at whatever their task is, whatever their area is, than you could be, and that can be very intimidating for a boss. That the person who reports to them is stronger in a particular area than they are. And you need to be able to deal with that. I mean, I know we've talked, Fred, you and I both have had clients where they were being kept down by a boss who was intimidated by them because they were very strong in what they did and very good at it, and the boss was afraid that they would outshine the boss, as it were, and the manager forgot that this talented person is making them look good. So you don't want to keep them down. You want to put the effort behind to make them look even better. You don't want to be intimidated by your talented people.
That's a good example of how you can lose someone.
Oh yeah, that too. And in fact, I know in one case that's exactly what happened. Another part of managing talented people is to keep in mind, as the manager, you've got other folks as well. And, they're going to be spotting the fact that the talented person gets certain assignments that they might want. And you got to watch out for jealousy. You've got to watch out for, people trying to undermine the talented person. I mean, it doesn't always happen. You just, as a manager, you have to be able to manage everybody and give the special attention to the talented person without demoralizing the rest of your staff. And that's not always easy.
It's not easy. And part of what happens when Rick, you and I have both done some coaching in the area of helping a manager understand that it takes time when dealing with some of their staff who want to know why they aren't getting the same kinds of assignments. And you literally have to sit down and help them to understand what are the reasons that they're not getting the same assignment that the talented person is getting.
That's so important, Fred. And I have an example of, I coached a person who worked at a company where literally they published the salaries of everyone in the company from the chairman on down every month. And as a manager, my client had to be able to explain to everyone on their staff why they were getting what they were getting in terms of salary, and somebody else was getting more. And that's really where I think the rubber meets the road in terms of being a manager, is you have to be able to tell people where their weaknesses are and how they can improve their own performance without demoralizing them and without being too judgmental, but giving them the feedback that helps them grow and keeps it away from being just, well, me versus so-and-so. Why are they getting something that I'm not getting? And that's a real challenge for a manager, but that's an important one. A big mistake a manager can make is to assume nobody knows what anybody makes. That is a bad assumption.
It is. And in most companies, they don't, as you were just giving the example that everyone's salary was published, most companies say that salaries are very private, but they're not private. People know how much other people make. And so the example that you gave of what the manager needs to do is very important. So what we've been talking about today is the importance of talent to both the company and to your individual department. We talked about how to go about identifying the talented people and the fact that it's going to take patience in order to coach them. In the next podcast, we'll be talking about what talented people are looking for.
We hope you have found this podcast useful, and we'll come back again for more management mastery. If you have any comments about this or any of our episodes, or would like to find out more about our other services, including one-on-one coaching and group seminars for managers, visit our website at careercoachclass.com. Thanks for listening.